Hi guys, it's Penelope in London, and today we're looking at Chiron in hard aspect to Venus and what that means if you have this, but also most importantly, the transits. So what we can do, I'm going to show you now. So Chiron is our hypersensitivity. I'm going to expand this chart to show you something. If you can see, this is the chart, and my Chiron at birth, if you look here, it's 25 degrees Pisces, and you see here, Chiron, 25 degrees in Pisces, and it's conjunct my IC at birth. So you'd want to look at where your Chiron is, the house it's in, and also the sign that it's in. Really important. It's not just one thing. It's I'm going to explain to you what that sign is. And the house is the deepest part of the chart. It's to do with home and family and childhood. If you look here on this chart, you can get this chart on astro.com. You need your time, date, place of birth. The time is really important because the rising sign changes every few hours. I'm a Scorpio rising up here, and at birth I do have some nice aspects to Chiron. I have a few difficult ones as well, like I've got Chiron to my moon square, and I've also got some oppositions. You can see Chiron conjunct Saturn and to my Pluto and Uranus at both at 15 degrees up here. So an MC. My MC is up here 20, so you can see those points. And then I've got the trines from here, Neptune and South Node to Chiron, and then some sextiles. So you can dig so deep in understanding this. But really, as we go through life, once this is the point where it's a snapshot of the heavens at birth, and then we evolve the chart because the planets keep moving. Chiron takes 49 to 51 years to orb the chart. I'm going to show you that on Solar Fire. So if you watch, I'm going to change charts in a moment and show you how the planets move, which is brilliant. I love Solar Fire. And currently I had my Chiron return. The return happens between age 49 and 51. And that happened for me in 2017. It's now moved off, and it's 5 degrees current transit of Aries, and that's for the collective. So for wherever it is in your chart right now, the transit is at 5 degrees of Aries, and let's see here, it was retrograde, but it went direct. Let's see here. No, it's still, what's got there? Let's see, Chiron. Yeah, retrograde. Okay, so if you see this here, if you don't really understand when you look at this part of your chart, what you can do is educate yourself, and I will give you some pointers here. If you look at Chiron, this is basically the chart transposed into a graph. So my Chiron here, you can see that I've got it trine to my south node. So there you go, Chiron, trine, that's an easy energy. And then I've got sextile to my north node. So that's 60 degrees to my north node from my Chiron. Then we have opposition to Pluto, trine to my Neptune, and conjunct my Saturn, and square my Jupiter, sextile my Mars, and it's not doing anything to my Venus, but we're doing Venus today, the hard aspects to Venus, but I'll be able to show you in my transits how that worked. And then I've got sextile to Mercury, square to the moon, and sextile to my sun. So I've got a really busy Chiron in my chart, a lot of healing work. So I had a very tough childhood. And when we look at this section, we can really see, what our life is like, and the more we understand and learn. And you can, if you want help, I help people to understand early imprints and overcome trauma through knowledge, or to integrate it, not to overcome it, but to integrate it. And what I'm going to do now is that we're going to look at that Chiron and go down this way. So Chiron is trine to Lucifer. That's the bringer of light. So that's not as scary as it sounds. And then we got a trine to my ascendant. So you see here, it's hitting my ascendant as well at 27 degrees 25. That's 120 degree, roughly in orb. And then it's opposition to my MC, which I showed you up here. So now let's look at these transits. So if I share the emanated page, and I'll get my spotlight again. So what I'm going to do is explain to you that, first of all, on the inside of the chart is my natal chart, and on the outside we have the current transits, where the planets are right now. So remember that Chiron is 5 degrees of Aries, and that's my 4th house. The natal Chiron in Pisces is, very deep. It's deep in all the signs, but it means different things in different signs. So remember that you want to, just Google if your Chiron is in Aries at birth, look what that means. If your Chiron is in Virgo at birth, again, look at what it means. So Chiron is to do with our wound and where we want to become whole and heal ourselves. And as it moves through and aspects other planets, it's showing us how that's happening. And it's in the sign of Pisces for me, and the wound is in relationship with what's divine, and it can be to do with the loss of faith, loss of trust in feeling that the oneness, of love and the truth. It can be quite difficult. There can be a lot of betrayal and victimization, which there was, and that was at home in my family because it's in the 4th house. So again, then you would look at the house that it's in, because that will change the meaning of it. Fear of being hurt and feeling, the unjust and how unfair things are. And also one can develop a hardness around here, because the trauma can, really penetrate and really be painful, and that can create a hard shell. Thankfully, it's not done that for me. I think that the aspects that I've had, like the trines, really helped me to stay, regardless of trauma. It's helped me to stay as a kind person, I would say. I've sure had my difficulties in relationships, but overall, living human life is not cut and dried. It's lots of things can happen to us, and we react dependent on where we're at in our consciousness. So there can be suspiciousness here and a lack of trust in others, and the sensitivity of not being able to trust. If you're not able to trust your parents, for instance, at birth, then it can really affect the rest of our lives, if you think about that. And also there can be a championing of the underdogs here. So when he says underdogs, it's like really caring for people that are suffering, really understanding that. There can also be blocks that we need to deal with, but there are gifts with Chiron, and that's what we're looking for. So the gift is, through confronting what was unfair and seeing the bigger picture and the overall pattern of life, we can begin to see that, that there are gifts in whatever we've struggled with in our struggle. We can get a huge amount of wisdom, and then we're able to help others. And this Pisces, the gift, can make one romantic and have an unshakable faith, and can also, activate the imagination. And that can be really helpful to people. If we're very imaginative, we can use terminology that will help people understand their own healing or the way of seeing something. And there is a spiritual connection with this being in Pisces as well. And it's about individuality, but also being of service to others. And it can, cause that one to be a natural healer, and also bring love and balance and wholeness, not only to our own lives if we have it in Pisces, but to others as well, which is really beautiful. So the book that I'm going to refer to briefly as well is Chiron and the Healing Journey by Melanie Reinhardt. I'll put the link below the video. So you want to look at your own chart and see, first of all, I didn't have any natal aspects to Chiron at birth. When I showed you the chart before, the astro.com chart, you saw that I had no, but I do have other aspects to it. But when we look at the transiting Chiron, this is very important for us. So whilst I said I'd look at hard aspects, I want to show you a few nice ones. I went back to 2000, so now I'm going to put the year 2000. So in 2000, 27th of November 2000, which I'm entering the date now, I had, which was nice, I had the beginning of my healing journey from my recollection, although it was very difficult. I had Chiron trine to my Venus. So if you look at Chiron here, 18 degrees in the first house in Sagittarius, that would have been the 27th of November 2000. It was trine to my Venus. And what that meant for me was that I had opportunities to build bridges in my relationships and with people that were close to me, and was beginning to heal any past wounds which stood in my way, and begin to build trust and intimacy. And also it gave me the ability to share my innermost thoughts and feelings, and to begin to leave the past behind and move forward. And I didn't realize it at the time, when I was beginning my spiritual journey, but also to teach and to heal or counsel. This is just generalized what it says, but during this time, developing more meaningful relationships, which was true for me. I began to develop more meaningful relationships. So if we go back 20 years, I was 34 at the time, and I'm now 20 years older than that. And it's also the chance where we've got a chance to change ourselves. So it was a tricky time, because clearly it's not just one thing that's going on. We integrate the whole chart, but we can see the ability that was being given to me there. Then as time went on, the next hit to Venus was the Chiron square, and that was on the 2nd of January 2004. So if I go forward by years here and I show you, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, that's 4 years ahead to November 2004. So if we look at this chart now and we go, Chiron was 22 degrees and it was in a square to my Venus. And what that meant for me was that at that time, that was about painful time in relationships for me, and also where you can feel threatened, by relationships. And it's, there's light coming to us at that time of consciousness, and also where relationships can undergo changes. But Venus is also to do with our inner needs. That's my Venus is in Aries at 18 degrees. So we would integrate the whole thing. We're not just looking at one thing. So also it's where things were unhealthy began to blossom from the past wounds as I was beginning to heal them. And also where, I'll think about this, but it says where you meet someone who forces you to reassess your values and true worth of your relationships. So because Venus is about that, it's about our inner needs and it's about our outer needs in Libra, because Venus rules Taurus, 2nd house, and it also rules Libra, 7th house. So it's to do with relationships and values as well, the inner and outer, and also the way we speak to ourselves in Taurus, the ear, the hearing. Also, the next thing that would have happened was Chiron would have gone sextile, which is not a hard aspect, to my Venus, and that was 2008. So I'm going to jump forward to the 15th of March to show you. And I can do this with you if you want. So do feel free to book me or ask any questions. I'm not finishing yet, but I'm just showing you 2008, and I've got a couple more to go. Whoops, 2008 there. So what happens now? This was the 15th of March 2008. So we find the Chiron again, and that's 18 degrees, and that's 18 degrees there. So that's 60 degrees away, which made it a sextile, while my 3rd house was busy at that time here, all about communication. So then with the Venus, Chiron to Venus sextile, it's about an opportunity again to build bridges with intimates, and also healing past wounds which have stood in the way of trust and intimacy, and sharing innermost thoughts and feelings and leaving the past behind, and the healing and teaching as well. So in 2008, and I moved away from a lot of people at that time, actually. I began to do a lot of reading and studying on spiritual books and things like that. And then in 2011, the next hit, we're going to go, let's go by year, 1, 2, 3, 2011, 15th of March. This would have been August. So we're going to go forward by months. 1, 2, 3, August, 15th of August. Then this was a semi-square, and the semi-square is basically can be frustrating and painful time in relationships and with intimate partners, and it's where you make changes where relationships feel blocked and can leave you with you feel like you're hitting your head against a brick wall, and it can be painful, and it could be that you're trying too hard or that your timing's simply out of sync. So we know this. Sometimes we go through life and, we meet people and it's not such a great time for them maybe, or for us. And it can also be that, just generally frustration with the square to that Venus. And the more you push, the harder, at that time, which would have advised, an astrologer would have said, just don't push, just slow down and let matters settle, and all eventually will become clear. And this is the beauty of astrology that we can see. So where I'm at now, if I come up to the 26th of November 2020, and we come back to this chart, what you can see that Venus is at 5 degrees, and it's not going to be squaring anything for some time. It's going to sextile a few planets up here as it moves through. And as I said, it takes 49 to 51 years to move around the chart. So unless you live to 100 or 102, you're only going to have one Chiron return. So it's really worth looking at the healing and looking at what your Chiron's doing. There's a couple of videos I've made before. I've put Chiron, in aspect to the sun. And then the next planet, I put Chiron in aspect to the moon. And then the next one, Chiron in aspect to Mercury, and this one is Venus. And after this Venus one, the next one I'll be doing is Chiron in aspect to Mars in the coming week, which will be good to know. So let's just read a bit from Chiron in aspect to Venus from Chiron and the Healing Journey, Melanie Reinhardt. I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to take a little section. You can always get this book, and I'll put the link below. So with Chiron in aspect to Venus, we may have the gifts of seeing beauty where others do not notice it, and finding our value in what they dismiss as ugly or worthless. Our values are intensely personal, and we uphold them with great tenacity. Our Venusian preoccupations may include philosophical or political issues as we campaign for women's rights, racial harmony, or become an enthusiastic supporter of the arts. We may quest after someone or something of great beauty and value, or perhaps for wealth, glamour, or romance. With this placement, we meet people who already seem familiar to us. Perhaps we feel we have known them in our lives, and may even have some idea of the details interchangeable problems in relationships may resolve by taking this perspective. As with Chiron, Venus aspects may be open to other dimensions of consciousness through intense and sometimes painful relationships. And we can find inspiration and discover our next steps in life through synchronous meetings with people who bring new ideas, rich interpersonal encounters, suggestions and insights, and into business contracts also. And however, we might not realize that we in turn do just that for others also, and remain unaware of how much we are appreciated by them. So, again, values, we've got to know our own value and worth, which is part of Venus also. And what we have then, so then we would look at, the disharmony with any hard aspects, because that will cause disputes for us. And if you get the book and begin to work on your wound, because we've all got, to a degree, PTSD, complex PTSD issues, whether they occurred in imprints in childhood, or whether we believe in past lives, or, I'm 50-50 on past lives myself. But I do understand from looking at my chart how much it's helped me heal and grow. The transit Venus to Chiron, because the Venus takes 224 days to move around the chart. You can see here, Venus is currently in Scorpio for me at 6 degrees in my 12th house. So I've gone a bit inward at this time. I've also got Mercury on my South Node and on my Neptune, and that's this is for a couple of weeks. I have this, and then they'll all be in the first house with the sun. I'm looking so forward to it. So that's it. If you do want a session with me, please book, and we can run through this, or other, just generally a chart reading. Okay, catch you later. Thanks for watching.